Hi, I'm Allison Lamb, and this is Weaving Green Justice at COP30, a series of reflections from the heart of the Amazon in Belém. Each clip captures a moment of meaning, weaving together analyses of delegate negotiations, stories of social justice, and interpretations of climate texts through the lens of green ideology. Here's today's thread.
This is my 5th day in the Blue Zone, and with each demonstration, the entrance becomes more militarized. All I see around me is more barricades and more uniforms. I undoubtedly feel much safer in my fortress, but it's still very intimidating. Although formal negotiations and plenaries have interpreters, informal consultations are required to be in English. How exactly is that fair? Having just spent days experiencing and discussing how impaired I felt in a language not my first, I feel deeply the injustice of this situation. Sitting in SBI 12D National Adaptation Plans, I felt for the lead negotiator of Mauritania, who had prepared a statement that they were unable to deliver because the statement was in French. Luckily, it was a prepared statement and not negotiations that require an immediate response. But then, the co-facilitator called for an aside with the leads of the various delegations. In my position, I would have been required to make a choice between joining and only understanding in part, or sending someone else and being completely excluded. Perhaps I'm particularly sensitive to this because of my own experiences. There were certainly other inequities going on. For example, not all negotiations are open to observers, and for some that are, the observers weren't allowed any headsets. This made it near impossible for observers to hear any of the dialogue that was occurring. The rooms are either too hot or too cold, with one delegate having been rumored to have gotten stuck on their chair due to the heat. Some rooms didn't have enough chairs, and observers were expected to either sit on the floor or stand. Even when told that all meetings were open to observers, it seemed that did not actually include all meetings. This was a single paragraph in SBI 12D that went through what felt like endless discussion. For those of you who are unfamiliar with COP negotiations, the bracketed texts are the ones that are currently still in negotiation. As you can see here, parties are not yet in agreement on whether local platforms should be included, as well as whether the word could should be changed to can. Some felt that everything after expertise should be removed, and then others wanted to change accelerate to contribute to, in the event that the section after expertise doesn't get removed. Injustices were not limited to observers. One thing I noticed is the emphasis on the word trust. Only the Global North speaks of trust. The Global South never asks for trust in each other or trust in the process, likely because trust has completely eroded over the years. There is also immense pressure to deliver. With all subsidiary bodies being asked to complete their work by the end of the week, delegates are feeling the time crunch. At one point in the SBI 12D discussion on national adaptation plans, the speaker for the Arab group suggested that, for the sake of progress, unless a specific party has a red line, the group should just move on. While I understand the need for expediency, I wonder if this isn't partly why we keep going back to rework text that has already been agreed upon. How can parties be expected to commit to textual activation if they've only accepted it in the first place for the sake of moving on? I learned from Ringo this morning that the Gender Action Plan, or GAP, has the third most bracketed texts. In the GAP negotiations, this whole section B is about gender balance. Throughout the section is the wording for full, equal, and meaningful participation. However, equal remains bracketed because certain parties argue that it should be up to the countries to choose their own delegates and the necessary expertise may not be available. I understand the logic behind this argument, but this is a section on gender balance, and removing the word equal is a disingenuous and counterproductive action. What's the point of having an action plan that balances gender if you can't even keep the word equal? If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have told you that I needed to be here. I needed to hear the discussions over every comma and every bracket. I needed to hear what texts should be deleted and why. I needed to see which parties were obstructing progress. But if you ask me now, I'd say that's not true. I could read the summaries online, but if you ask me now, I would still tell you I needed to be here. I needed to see the lead delegate from Mauritania excluded from the huddles. I needed to be in the room and experience sitting on the floor and being unable to hear a single word. I needed to understand how the word trust can be manipulated. Did I move the needle at all by being here? I don't know. But if you're watching this, and what I've been saying has made a difference for even one of you, then I think I did.